right, thank you, Brian, and welcome everybody to this September 25th, 2023 meeting of the Homewood City Council. I think we're going to start tonight with a proclamation, so I'll hand it over to the mayor.
Actually, I have two.
Oh, two.
Yeah. Oh, is it just one? Is it just one? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Just got you to sign too.
Yeah, perfect. We're good. Got it. So if anybody is here for the gynecologic proclamation, please come up front. How are y'all? Doing well, doing well. So I will read this off. Whereas gynecologic or GYN cancers are among the leading cancer killers of women in the United States, and more than 125,000 will be diagnosed, and more than 33,000 women will die from these diseases this year, and the absence they leave in our hearts will be deeply felt forever. And whereas the Laura Crandall Brown Foundation and their A State of Teal initiative brings awareness of all GYN cancers to the people throughout the state of Alabama. And whereas the good health and well-being of women in our state and the city of Homewood are enhanced by increased awareness of GYN cancers and their symptoms and treatments. And whereas it is also crucial that all women in our state and the city of Homewood take an active role in learning the symptoms and risk factors associated with GYN cancers, developing healthy habits, and undergoing regular medical examinations so that any occurrence of these diseases may be detected in their early and treatable stages. And whereas we reflect on the memory of those lost to these diseases, the bravery of those currently battling these diagnoses, and the need for increased awareness, screening, and research so that women in our state might be spared from them in the future, and encourage all citizens to work together to raise awareness of GYN cancers. Now, therefore, I, Patrick McCluskey, Mayor of the City of Homewood, Alabama, do hereby proclaim September 2023 as Gynecologic Cancer Awareness Month throughout the city, and encourage all residents of Homewood to work together to raise awareness of GYN cancers, and do commend this observation to all of our citizens. So, thank you. Yes, absolutely. It's up to you.
Well,
I'm not forcing you.
Well, like you said, 33,000 women are going to die this year from gynecologic cancers. And Alabama ranks #1 in cervical cancer deaths. We rank #6 in ovarian cancer deaths. So these are things that we're trying to combat. September is our awareness month, but we promote awareness all throughout the year and all throughout the state. The Laura Crandall Brown Foundation serves everywhere from Muscle Shoals all the way down to Mobile. We also have a new executive director who I think a lot of you may know. Her name's Meg McGlamory.
Hi, it's good to see friends. Hi. Yeah, it's good to be back here. I'm a Homewood resident, and so it's really special to be with y'all tonight, and thank you for recognizing this important cause. I also am a survivor of GYN cancer, and it was one of those things that never in a million years would I ever imagine that I would have been diagnosed. I don't think many people think about that. And it's really because of another Homewood resident, Dr. Ashley Prispus. She just used her intuition and thankfully saved my life. And now I have the great honor to work with this foundation. And I'm so grateful because not only are they providing support to those who are struggling with cancer, but they're also funding research. So 4 out of the 5 GYN cancers, there's no early detection. And so this foundation is working diligently to raise money to help for studies across the state to make a difference. So someone doesn't have to go through like what I went through and other people have gone through. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're going to start tonight with an invocation from Miss Andress, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please stand.
Will you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, we gather tonight in your name to serve our neighbors and our city. When we pray together, we experience your peace and your presence. Thank you for the blessings you have bestowed upon this city. Thank you for our employees, those who serve Homewood and our citizens day in and day out. Thank you for guiding us through the last month as we met several times a week to serve Homewood in preparation for this next year. Thank you for your guidance, and we ask that we put your will before anything, and that we serve with love and open hearts. We pray for enlightenment as we make decisions that impact our neighbors and our citizens. For our Jewish neighbors, we wish them an easy fast on this Yom Kippur. Create in us a pure mind and renew in us an eager spirit. In your name we pray. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Andrus. All right, Mr. Seacrest, if you will please call roll.
Councilor Walling.
Here.
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 Allen. Here. Ford. Here. Sims. Here. Jones.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Nelms.
Here.
Andrews.
Here.
Harden.
Here.
President White.
Here. All right, so we have everybody here tonight. Our next item is the minutes from our council meeting of September 11, 2023. Those were previously distributed. I would entertain a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of those minutes and for approval of the same.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. Gwaltney. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are approved 11-0. We don't have any board vacancies tonight, and we don't have any additions to the agenda. So I'd entertain a motion and a second for approval of the agenda.
Second.
All right, motion from Mr. Allen, second from Ms. Gear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved 11-0, which brings us to our consent agenda. I would entertain a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Gwaltney, second from Ms. Gear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved 11-0 as well, which brings us to old business. 180823, request for consideration of mayor's budget presentation for fiscal year 23-24, brought to us by Mayor McCluskey. And we're going to start, I believe, with Mr. Jones giving us an overview of everything, and then we'll run through the resolutions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee really worked hard. We had several additional participants from the council. I really appreciate that, but I do appreciate Councilors Gwaltney, Smith, Harden, and Councilor Alleman for all of your hard work on this budget. This was a labor of love, I'm telling you. I want to thank the mayor and all department heads, Robert and Melody, for all of your hard work in providing a budget that we could start with and build on. And I feel like all of the meetings were very productive. We did have a meeting on September 5th, 7th, September 12th, September 18th, 19th, 21st. We were going to have one tonight, but we got everything accomplished last week. So there's a lot of great discussion. Every year I learn new things about the city and different departments within the city and how much our employees serve the city and our constituents. So we are truly blessed. Some of the highlights, if you look at all of the budgeted funds, we're now a little over 108 million. So big number, and we are excited that we have a balanced budget. Did not utilize any fund reserve to balance the budget. So we're very excited about that. The mayor came forth with recommendations for a 3% COLA, working with the mayor and the committee. We were able to extend that out to we're recommending a 4% COLA. So we're very excited about that. A couple of other positive things. The mayor had presented to us that there was going to be a 6.5% increase in the insurance. So as upon further inspection, and we got great news that was down to 3.5%. So that's good, but I want to make sure everyone understands that our focus with that 3.5% increase is for the city to take care of that. So we're going to take care of that increase for our employees. That's a number of 107,000 to cover that. The 4% COLA is 923,000. For our certified public safety employees. I see we have a few in the audience tonight. We are going with what the mayor recommended, and that is a 5% increase for those employees at 10/1. So October 1st, they'll get a 5% increase, followed by another 5% increase at the merit date. So a 10%. We're excited about that. The merit increases overall throughout the city, we're funding that at $538,000. The additional pension cost was $508,000. So overall, great. I'm very excited about the budget. A few things in terms of capital. We have wonderful things going on within the city. The new playground equipment at Central Park is going in right around $1 million. We have 8 new police vehicles that we're funding within the budget, within capital at $515,000. We're still truly committed to the Diamond Interchange, and we're just waiting on AlDOT, but we have $2.8 million funded for the Diamond Interchange at Wildwood at Lakeshore. We've completed the Green Springs revitalization. Excited about that, $850,000 for that. Berkeley is committed to continuing on the paving our city streets, and so we're committing $1 million for that paving, as well as the stormwater projects and the creek walls that are have some age on them, so we're budgeting $1 million for that within capital. Also, sidewalk construction continues. We're budgeting $585,000 for that, and then lastly, the Sanford Pocket Park. So, going to maintain that within the budget. But it really was, this was a unique year in terms of curveballs. So sometimes that happens. You have everything together, and then all of a sudden you get new information, and some was good and some was bad. But the important thing is we all stuck together, and we worked through whatever the item was, and I believe this is something we can build on. We're excited about the 4%. The mayor fully supports that COLA. We appreciate all the employees. This is coming off last year where we did a 5% COLA. So we're committed to helping service our constituents in the best way, in the most efficient way possible. Those are my reports. I'm open to any questions, but for the resolutions, it's really, we had full participation, so they're 5-0 to approve all of the items, and we had a fun night where we went through all the funds. So as you'll see, we're going to have 19 resolutions total, but we have a lot of funds that we went over, and we have approved all of those 5-0.
All right, thank you very much. So does anyone have any questions or comments about the budget before I start going through them? All right. So as Mr. Jones said, each of these has a motion from a 5-0 motion from finance. So I'm going to just run through them. We'll start with our COLA resolution, which has a motion from finance. Any questions or comments about that? Not? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11-0, and will be resolution 23-121. Next, we have a resolution to adopt JCPB option C for police fire upgrades. We have another motion from finance on this one. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also 11-0, and will be resolution 23-122. Next, we have Fund 1, the general fund. We have a motion from finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11-0, and will be resolution 23-123. Next, we have Fund 2, the grants fund, and another motion from finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11-0, and will be resolution 23-124. Next, we have Fund 4, which is the 7-cent gas tax fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-125. Next, we have Fund 5, the 4 and 5 cent gas tax fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-126. Next, we have Fund 6, the Board of Education Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-127. Next, we have Fund 11, the Debt Service Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-128. Next, we have Fund 12, the Capital Projects Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-129. Next, we have Fund 13, the Environmental Escrow. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-130. Next, we have Fund 14, the Insurance Fund, with another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0, Resolution 23-131. Next, we have Fund 15, the E911 Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-132. Next, we have Fund 21, the Corrections Fund, or Jail Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-133. Next, we have Fund 22, the Corrections Fund, which is the Court Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-134. Next, we have Fund 24, Municipal Court Special Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is Resolution 23-135. Next, we have Fund 25, the Inspection Technology Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-136. Next, we have Fund 26, the GOW Construction Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-137. Next, we have Fund 28, the Judicial Administration Fund. Another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-138. And finally, to create records management manager position for the City of Homewood with Jefferson County Personnel Board for promotion in fiscal year 23-24 budget. This is also a motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-139. And with that, the budget is passed. Thank you, everybody. All right. Next item, 2006-23, request for consideration of a city manager brought to us by Mayor McCluskey. And we'll start with a report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met on September 18th, voted 5-0 to recommend the city manager model, which would consist of 4 ward-specific councilors, and then the at-large elected mayor serving as president of the council. So 5-0 out of Finance.
All right, so this does not have a resolution because we're not done with this item, obviously. There's still a lot left to be done. All this is just taking a vote so that we acknowledge what path we're headed down. But there's still certainly a lot left to be done. There's a lot left to be done to even get this to the referendum for the city, and then if it passes, to hiring a city manager. So we're still months and months away from getting this done if everything stays, or if everything is approved. So there's not a resolution, but we will have a vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11 to 0. Okay, next item, 010923, request to set a bid date for as-needed drainage pipe rehab, brought to us by Cale Smith. And another report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met, voted 5-0 to recommend setting a bid opening date of October 30th, 2023 at 4:31 with bids due at 4:30.
All right, so we will set that bid opening date. Next item, 020923, request to amend fiscal year 22-23 budget, brought to us by Chief Ross and Gordon James of our Fleet Maintenance Department. And another report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee voted 5-0 to recommend approval, transferring $1,000 from shop safety uniform line item, so 5-0 out of Finance.
All right, so we have a motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-140. Next item, 030923, request for consideration to become an official fan guide sponsor for the annual Birmingham Bowl, brought to us by Mark Meadows and Counselor Smith. And another report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee voted 5-0 to recommend the approval of funding for $1,188 from the advertising line item for the Birmingham Bowl.
All right, so we have another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-141. Next item, 040923, request for consideration of Cobbs Allen becoming agent of record for employee voluntary benefits on 10/1/23, brought to us by Robert Brigette and Melody Salter. And another report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met, voted 5-0 to recommend approval of this item.
All right, so we have a motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-142. Next item, 050923, request to consider paying tiered year-end bonus contingent upon the city completing fiscal year 22-23 with a general fund surplus, brought to us by Mayor McCluskey. And another report from Finance, Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. This is one thing I failed to mention as we were working through the budget. The mayor has again recommended this one-time bonus, and we're very excited about this. And it was really a lot of part of our discussion when we're looking at the total health of the city and what we're doing to help employees. This was recommended 5-0 by Finance, and as you know, it's a tiered system. So if you have over 20 years' experience, then you would get a $2,000 bonus. We're grossing it up, so the employees don't have to pay the taxes on that. But it's tiered based on years of service, and the full amount is up to $365,000. I believe that's what the number is. So, yeah, so 5-0 recommend approval of this.
All right, so we have another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 11 to 0 and will be Resolution 23-143. Next item, 150823, request for permission to declare surplus a portion of right-of-way along Forest Brook Circle, brought to us by Tanya Gary and Cale Smith. And we will start with a report from Special Issues. I think you've already reported this out once, maybe, but
I think we did, but.
if you don't mind doing it again.
Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
The committee met on the 11th of September and voted 5-0 to recommend declaring the property surplus for the amount of $6,324. Motion was made by Counselor Sims and seconded by Counselor Anderson. Again, it was 5-0 to approve that surplus.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Kendrick, can you give us a first reading?
Yes, sir. It's an ordinance to declare real property as surplus. Be it ordained by the City Council at a regular meeting duly assembled quorum present as follows. That hereby declared that the real property owned by the city described below in its portions of Lot 3 formerly within the I-65 right-of-way that was conveyed to us by the state of Alabama, containing approximately 8,608 square feet as described in the ordinance and the map attached, be declared surplus, that the mayor is authorized and directed to execute a quitclaim deed to convey the property to Tanya Gary for and in consideration of payment of $6,324.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion and a second for unanimous consent.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Smith, second by Ms. Nelms. And a roll call vote, please, Mr. Seacrest.
Counselor Walden.
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Hollyman.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
Sims. Yes. Jones.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Nelms.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Harden.
Yes.
President White.
Yes, so that is 11-0. Now I would entertain a motion and a second for approval.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Smith and second by Ms. Nelms, and another roll call vote, please, Mr. Seacrest.
Counselor Walden.
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Hollyman.
Yes.
Wolverton.
Yes.
Sims. Yes. Jones.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Nelms.
Yes.
Andrews.
Yes.
Harden.
Yes.
President White.
Yes, so that is 11-0, and will be ordinance 2875. All right, next item, 160823, public hearing set for tonight for consideration of a sign variance at 2844 18th Street South, brought to us by Howell Family LLC, Once Upon a Time, and Wyatt Pugh. And we will start with a report from Special Issues.
Yes, the committee met and heard from the applicant and voted 5-0 to send this out without recommendation pending the public hearing tonight.
All right, thank you very much. I will go ahead and open the public hearing, and I'm assuming there's someone here that's going to speak to this item. If you will, just sign in. Oh, it's up there at the podium, sorry.
I'm Real Howell, and I'm, I guess, the representative for this. I'm the building owner, and my wife owns the store, so I guess, are there any questions about?
Well, if you will, just because some people may not have seen it.
Brian, could you put the pictures up for
Yeah.
us?
That'd be great, yes.
Okay, just tell us what you're asking for here.
Okay, so the letters, this is her, I guess, essentially her logo. And the way it's stylized, the OU and the T are, dramatically larger than the rest of the words on there. And so in order for us to fit within that 16-inch letter height max, it ends up bringing all the other letters down to almost illegible, and it just does not look right on the awning that we're going to be installing. So we're asking for a variance to go to 21.5 inches on the OU and the T, and the remainder of the letters will fall within the guidelines, and our overall logo size is within the square footage guidelines too.
Okay. Let me see, is there anyone else here to speak for or against this item? If not, then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, ask if there are any questions or comments from council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion from Ms. Smith, a second from Mr. Harden. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11-0, and will be resolution 23-144.
Thank you for coming to Homewood.
All right, next item, 070923, request to set a public hearing for consideration of sign variance at 160 State Farm Parkway, brought to us by the Drury Inn and Wyatt Pugh. We will set that public hearing for October 9 at 6 p.m. Next item, 080923, public hearing set for October 9, 2023 at 6 p.m. for consideration to rezone 55 Bagby Drive and 65 Bagby Drive from C5 to MXD. This comes to us from the Planning Commission. Did we ever get these votes right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think these, I remember last time, but I can't remember what the correct voting line was.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one we heard was 85, and Commissioner Harwell voted no. So there was a 0, there's a 7, 1, and 1, and then 55, 65 followed, and that was an 8, 0, and 1, because there were 9 people there, 1 person abstained for both votes.
Got it.
And Commissioner Harwell was a no for 85 Bagby.
All right, so on
Does that sound right,
item,
Cale? So, yeah.
okay. So on item 080923, which deals with 55 and 65 Bagby Drive, that comes to us from the Planning Commission with an 8-0 to 1 favorable recommendation. So we will carry this item over to the hearing on October 9th. Next item, 090923, public hearing set for October 9, 2023 at 6 p.m. for consideration to rezone 85 Bagby Drive from C1 to MXD. This also comes to us from the Planning Commission with a vote of 7 to 1 to 1 favorable recommendation, so we will carry that item over until the 9th as well. And that brings us to the end of the old business agenda and to our committee referral agenda. I would entertain a motion and a second for approval of the committee referral agenda.
Second.
Motion for Mr. Allen, second for Mr. Gwaltney. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved 11-0, which brings us to other new business. First item, 170923, request to authorize the mayor to execute documents related to Jefferson County's Community Block Grant Award for the Rosedale Sidewalk Project. This is brought to us by Cale Smith. Just so everyone knows why this is appearing this way, this item has already come through a long time ago. This is just a matter of the documents being completed, and now they need the mayor's signature, and he needs us to authorize him to do that, and they need to get started on the project, so I allowed it to go to other new business rather than through the committee process. Yeah.
Second.
So we have a motion for Mr. Jones, a second for Ms. Andrus. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11-0, and will be resolution 23-145. All right, and then our last item, 180923, request for consideration of approval of vouchers for the period of September 12, 2023 through September 25, 2023, brought to us by Robert Brigette and Melody Salter. Mr. Jones, is this Ms. Smith?
My last hurrah. Yes, I looked at the vouchers today, this morning, and had some questions that Mr. Brigette got me the answers to. And my least favorite part of looking at vouchers is looking at the Iberia bill, because it makes me really mad. And we're going to address that coming up at our next Finance Committee meeting. So that aside, I would make a motion to approve the payment of the vouchers for the period from September 12th through September 25th.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion for Ms. Smith, a second for Mr. Gwaltney. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 11-0, and will be resolution 23-146. Which brings us to the end of our agenda for tonight. Mr. Mayor?
I promise I won't speak as long as I did at a committee meeting last week, but I just want to say thank you again to, certainly from the beginning of this process and the budget process, with meeting with all of my department heads, going through the finance department with Robert and Melody and their entire staff. I know Melody's back there as well. So I have to thank them for working with us to get everything set up and bring you as good a budget as we possibly can. The second thanks, of course, needs to go to the Finance Committee. I know, Dr. Jones and his team, with all the meetings that were put together, and I saw most everybody there at every single meeting, so that means a lot for everybody to show up, to know exactly what it is goes into the budget, and the importance of the vote that you took tonight on each of those different items or each of those different funds, because it affects the people that are sitting behind us or sitting behind me right now, as well as everybody else that's in the city. So it's a tremendous burden to go through, but it's something that is necessary, and I thank each and every one of you for your participation. And Walter, I know I know you said it's a labor of love earlier, but it's something that you have done so well for so many years at it that I don't know how we do it without you. So we greatly appreciate your work, and I know you'll be glad to get home tonight and not have to worry about things for a little while. So, but that's it. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gwaltney?
I will set public safety immediately following finance at 5 p.m. Perfect. I'll keep my comments brief. First, it starts with a good budget, so we have to thank you and your department heads for putting that together, and that's where it all comes from. Without having that good basis, it would have taken twice as long. So thank you for putting the effort in, all your department heads and the leaders in the city for doing that. And Walter, of course, we won't belabor the point. Your ego is going to be very inflated tonight, but well deserved. And the finance committee and all the other counselors that showed up as well to participate in the process. I like one thing that we do is the fact that you may not be on the committee and make the vote. Everyone's voice is heard equally, and we're all included in the process. And that's very important because it unifies the process going forward. We can have our debates and our discussions and figure out how we want to handle everything in the committee and make sure it's all covered in the budget. You know, the only thing that I found disappointing was not a result of the city, was the fact that we were put in this position to have to make hard decisions like this because, in my opinion, of the neglect, like I said in committee, of the neglect of the personnel board. We wouldn't have been in this position had they been doing what they were supposed to be doing and had failed at doing. If that process had been taken, or their due process and due diligence had been taken seriously, we would have been able to adjust and have these cost of living raises, merit increases adjusted over the last 10, 15 years. To me, that's a disappointment to put cities like us that are fortunate to be in the position where we can, make this work. There are many cities probably in this county that don't have the luxury to be able to make those decisions like we did. Besides that, I think we have some work ahead of us too in the city. We have lots of good projects ahead of us. I think we have lots of opportunities for efficiency that we can wring out in the coming year. And I look forward to working with everybody sitting here and finding those ways that we can streamline efficiency and find some cost savings and make our outputs better for the citizens and the employees of the city as well. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Gear?
Yes, so the Arts Council met a couple of weeks ago, and they'll have a lot of, some exciting plans for next year. I'm going to get into that next month. But I did want to announce that the current artist, Kelly Parvin, downstairs, will be coming down this week. And if anyone can stop by on Thursday evening, 5 to 7, there'll be a reception, a closing reception for her. Then this Saturday, Kelly Todd, an abstract artist who is at Art in the Lot, I think is the name of the art at Trinity. She'll be exhibiting for about a month starting this Saturday. And I appreciate the ability to participate in the budget process, and I'd like to thank the mayor and all the city staff for all the hard work. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Allen?
Yeah, I'd like to echo everyone's sentiments and thank the mayor and thank Councilor Jones for their leadership in this process, and as well as my fellow councilors, both on finance and not on finance, as well as all the city employees who gave us their valuable feedback. That's how we work together to try to create the, not perfect budget, the best budget we can provide and present, so that we can move the city forward on a lot of important initiatives. I also want to thank the council for continuing to move the conversation around city manager. I think it's really exciting, especially in terms of Councilor Gwaltney's comments on efficiency. I am hopeful that that will help us do a lot more to move in that direction. It's not a silver bullet, but it'll be a step in the right direction. And then finally, I just want to point out that the Econo Lodge has come down in Ward 2 in West Homewood.
Yes, it
And
has.
it's also great to see developers do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it.
That's right.
And so I think that when you have real partners and then you can move things in the right direction, it's a benefit to the entire community. Thank you.
Well said.
Mr. Wolverton?
Yes, I will echo that. There's been an immense amount of joy over this the destruction of a compound for a long time. So most everybody in the neighborhood is really elated. We will have some sort of celebratory event that will be upcoming, so we'll keep everybody posted on a date when that comes out. I also want to thank everybody for the budget, everything that goes into it. I know obviously we had some challenges, especially later in the process this year. Fortunate that we got some numbers back that made things workable and still kind of kept everything intact as it was anticipated initially and presented. I do not see any items for Public Works, so I will not set Public Works for next meeting. And then lastly, I just want to send my condolences to Councilor Allen and Councilor Sims. We gave them a pretty good thumping in East Lansing last weekend. And I would like to point out that there are ups and downs in football every year. Right now we're riding pretty high, and I hope to enjoy that the rest of the season. So that is it. Well, I'll just point out that my team is ranked higher than anybody else's team in this room right now.
I think it's ranked higher than Texas.
Yeah.
Are you? Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind. You're right. Never mind. I retract that statement. Hey, however, we beat Texas 3 games ago. Texas beat Alabama, so by default,
That is,
Yeah.
it is a new year. It's a new year.
All right, Mr. Sims.
Thanks, Paul. Sorry.
It's okay.
No,
Come by, Paul.
no, I'd just like to, thank the mayor for the budget presented and Councilor Jones for the leadership, bringing the budget through the process. I think there's some valuable discussions that happen throughout the process, which Councilor Gwaltney and Councilor Smith have referenced in some efficiencies, so look forward to those discussions going forward, which also ties into the city manager discussion. I just want to kind of reference this again, we talked about it during the budget process, but that the city will not be doing any type of, advocating for this position going forward, but we will be able, from a public funds perspective, we've had that clarified. So we want to make sure that when we do have open houses about, what the manager role entails and about the upcoming referendum, that people make sure to participate, because that will be a valuable opportunity to share accurate and up-to-date information. So just want to make sure the residents are paying attention to that, because we invite you to become a part of the discussion going forward as we look at a new structure of government for our city, which I think is really valuable, and having a full-time professional serving our city. So just wanted to mention that, and thanks to everyone for your time, throughout September in regards to the budget hearings. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. Finance will be at 5, and I'm not going to belabor the point, but I really do appreciate everyone helping, and it seems like I should write a book about all the things that happened within the budget over the years. Like, I remember one year I learned what the colors of the fire hydrants, why they're different colors, and this year I learned from Miss Judith there, we had 33,000 patrons per month. So that's a lot. And so every time we, I just learn different things, but I appreciate working through this, and I couldn't do it without y'all. Everybody participated, and it meant a lot. And I want a special thank you to Mrs. Smith, because there were days that I needed to unload and share things with you, and you were able to talk to me.
She's good
and
about
I enjoyed
that.
that.
She's a good one for that.
Everybody on finance, I kind of called you a lot, but anyway, I appreciate especially to you for hearing me out and working through this. So that's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Ms. Smith.
Gush Fest, Walter Jones continues. This process would not work in any way as well as it does if it wasn't for Walter, keeping us on track, not freaking out when bad things happen, because my first reaction is freak out, and he doesn't. And so for him to say that he called me, I was mostly like probably reacting crazily. But anyway, this process would not be what it is without Walter Jones leading it. So that's the truth. And thank you to the mayor and for Melody and Robert, who worked tirelessly to get us a budget that we could work from. And that honestly, when the bad news happened, we had ways to work through it. Because if the budget hadn't been good to begin with, we wouldn't have had avenues that we could have pursued to try to fix things. So, and then, for good news at the end, hallelujah for that. But I just appreciate everybody's participation, and 2 more years, 2 more budgets to go through before I call it a day. But yeah, it was a interesting. It was like a roller coaster this year, but I'm glad it's over. And I will set special issues to follow public safety on Monday the 2nd.
All right, thank you. Ms. Nelms.
I don't have anything tonight, but I'll just say ditto to all 7 before me. And is that right, 7? Okay, yeah. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Andrews.
I will set P&D to follow special issues. We still need to work on 5565 Bagney, so I will go ahead and set that meeting. I want to say thank you also to the mayor, to Robert, Melody, and the finance committee for and Chairman Jones. And there's a reason I'm not on the finance committee. So, and I'm appreciative of those of you who are. I spoke with Chief Ross today just about something unrelated, and at the end of that conversation, he wanted me to go ahead and make sure that I let all of you know how appreciative he and his men and women are of the work that you guys put in, and the final outcome of the budget, and just really, very appreciative and very sincere, and wanted me to pass that on to you guys, and I promised him that I would do that. I missed you all last Thursday night when you all were meeting about budget, because I met with the Garden Club. I had told them in advance that, several weeks ago that I would come and speak about Amwaste, about sort of all the changes that were going on with Amwaste, and sort of give a little spiel about that. And so it happened to be at the exact same time, and I tried to get over here, and I ran into Melanie in the parking lot, and she said y'all had wrapped up, and Barry had texted me that y'all had wrapped up, so I missed you. But I did want to thank the Garden Club for having us. John was going to join me, and then he came here, of course. But we did have a great conversation. I gave a recap of what we were doing with city manager. I talked about Amwaste. I gave them an update on, Kale's left, but our A-Trip application, which we're putting in for November for the Highway 31 pedestrian improvements and light improvements. Gave them a bridge update, which is always my favorite topic, and something else we talked about. But we had a really nice meeting. It was a full house. It was great. And so I want to thank them for having me. And then I really want to thank Berkeley, Chris, and Paul Barber from Amwaste. It has been a smooth, I know I pulled you all into my drama last week, but last Thursday and then today's Monday, it's been great. So I've been communicating directly with Paul Barber, and I really want to thank him. He's been super responsive, and as much complaining as I did last week. It was a miracle. Thursday and Monday have been just fantastic. I think that is all that I have.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harden.
I have said thanks enough to Walter, but I do want to thank the finance office. I know how much work it was. Only a couple of them left here because they're probably out drinking beer somewhere. But anyway, obviously we've all said how much work it is. But I also want to thank Councilor Andrus. I know we're headed to probably a city council without two people, but sometimes it's just nice to have someone who can carry your load for you, and she does that a lot for me. I want that to be noted. So I appreciate her going to the Garden Club, and I got to stay here and talk about numbers. So anyway, but other than that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. I've just got a couple of things. One, just to sort of reiterate about city manager. So I appreciate all the work that everyone has put in getting to this point of sort of choosing what we think we're going to do moving forward. And obviously there's a tremendous amount left to do, as I noted earlier, not the least of which is getting the actual referendum together and getting the districts done and all of that stuff. So there's still a lot left to be done, but I don't want that to minimize the amount of work that has been done to this point, and certainly appreciate that. Once we get some more details and some meat on the bone, then we will be having times, whether it be an open house or whatever we want to call it, the people can come and get information about it. And I look forward to that so that we can explain this system that we're talking about and the merits of it and what the other options were, so that everyone can understand what is coming up with a vote probably sometime towards the beginning of next year, late winter, early spring probably. If that passes, then we will take a good bit of time to search for a city manager. That will not be an easy or short task, and it's an important hire, and we will take the time we need to do that we need to get the right hire. So there's still a very long way to go, but appreciate all the work that everyone's done to get to this point. Secondly, with regard to the budget, I don't want to belabor this, but it's worth noting. You don't until you do it, you don't really appreciate what goes into a budget. That book that Walter's got in front of him has a lot of pages in it, and I've never counted them all up, nor do I really want to. But each page then has, depending on the page, 20 to 30 line items in it, and somehow Walter and Melody and Robert and Melanie, and they keep all that stuff and can get to it and turn to it. I just can't do that. I'm just not built that way. Yeah, there you go. That's it. And it's just an immense amount of information that is not easy to put together. So, Mayor, thank you very much for putting it together. Thank you, the department heads and the finance department, for putting it together. There's just a tremendous amount of work that goes into getting it to us. Once it's to us, there's a tremendous amount of work to do, even in what I would call a normal year. And so this was not a normal year. As Melody told me earlier, this is the item on the agenda that shall not be named, because it was not your average year. There were, it was, I think Ms. Smith said it was a roller coaster, and it was. I'm extremely proud of the Finance Committee and the council as a whole for how you handled that roller coaster. It would have been really easy to get off track, to get discouraged, to have problems, and that the only attitude that anyone ever had is, how do we get where we need to get? And how do we get to a balanced budget? What do we need to do? And that's what you all did, and you deserve an immense amount of credit for it. And Walter, I've told you this every year, and I mean it. I don't know how we do this without you. And again, in a normal year, I don't even want to think about what this year would have been. I really don't. Your command of the information, your attention to detail, your calmness, and your sort of ability to both deal with the small details but also the big picture is really something to be marveled at. And I've never done it without you, and I'm not really thinking about doing it without you ever again, because it's too bad a thought to think of. But certainly the rest of the Finance Committee, Ms. Smith, I know how much time and effort you spent on this, Mr. Harden, Mr. Gwaltney, Mr. Alamon, you all did a great job, and as did the rest of the council. It's going back to what I was saying earlier, it's an enormous document. It takes an enormous amount of work. And the idea that we all work together with the mayor, with the department heads, with the employees, to get to a point tonight where we were able to breeze through 19 different resolutions, all of which were approved unanimously, shows how well everyone worked together and how you got to a budget. As Mr. Alamon said, no budget is perfect, because there's always more stuff we want to do than we can do. That's just inherent to a budget. But it is a very good budget, and it is a very good budget in again, a year that was not the average year. So I appreciate all your work. I look forward to working with all of you again in the future. We're working towards those efficiencies that Mr. Gwaltney's talking about. And so with that, I will go ahead and close this meeting, and we'll see everybody in a couple weeks.